Hi everybody, this is City Scrapper. Thanks so much for joining me on my channel today. Today I'm back with another layout that I made using the February My Creative Scrapbook limited edition kit. And this month the kit had lots of papers and embellishments from the Blue Fern Studios Passages collection. And I'm starting by cutting this very large heart out of one of the beautiful pattern papers that was included in this month's kit. I liked the background that was in this paper, but I was thinking maybe I could just make the heart look a little bit more prominent if I cut it out and then do a mixed media background. So I cut it out. You can see it's not a complete heart, but I kind of liked that it would make the layout asymmetrical. And I'm using some Tim Holtz Distress Oxide in black soot to ink the edges of the paper. And there's a lot of black accents in this collection, so I really like the way the black soot looks, and it creates a lot of contrast between the elements when there's black around the edges. I'm taking a piece of cardstock. This cardstock is already coated with white gesso. It's 120 pounds smooth white cardstock. It's my favorite mixed media paper to use. I traced around the heart so I could see where to put the mixed media. And today I'm using something a little different in the background. I do also use a watercolor spray in a little while, but most of the background is created using some, and I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, Reese watercolor creams in Rainbow Shimmer. I picked these up because I thought that the colors look very subtle, and sometimes when I'm using mixed media, I tend to be very bold with the colors, and I thought that this might help me to keep the colors a little bit more subtle. Sometimes you want a really bold background and you want the colors to be very intense and very noticeable, but other times the background looks better when there's subtle colors, especially when there's subtle colors in the pattern papers. So I'm trying these out. I am just coloring them on some plastic packaging and spraying some water on them, and I'm pretty happy with the way that they're working out. And I find that I can control these a little more easily than with the sprays. I still love the sprays though. And I wanted to mention that in order to make a mixed media background, you really don't need all of these different products. You just need one. You could get a product like this, and this will match a lot of backgrounds. Or you could get an inexpensive watercolor kit. You don't have to have all these different varieties of items to make your mixed media backgrounds. It's fun. I enjoy trying things out, and I've been doing this for years, so I've built up a stash over the years. But if you're just starting out and you just want to purchase the kit and you don't want to add a lot to it, you can really just use one item that you buy, and I think a set of inexpensive watercolors is probably the best choice. There's a really nice shimmer to these, and sorry about that bright light. Every time that I move my arm over, it looks like the light gets very bright. I don't know why that is, but you can see that I'm adding lots and lots of layers to the background, and I'm also using the creams, I guess they're called, to add some splatters to the background. And here I wanted to add some more splatters as well, so I pulled a spray out of my stash and I added that. I added a couple of different colors, kind of a gray, dark gray color, and now I'm trying to use the Distress Oxide to make splatters, but that particular pad seems like it's had its better days, so instead I switched over to some Liquitex ink. For this I want some really small splatters because, again, I want the background to be somewhat subtle. Here I'm going in with the Color Bloom Spray that is included in the kit, and I really love the Prima Color Bloom Sprays. I have purchased a number of them just because I love the vividness of the color. On this layout, I said I wanted to keep it subtle, but there was this dark pink color that I just thought looked so pretty mixed in with all these other colors. So I figured this would be perfect to use this spray. It's called Black Tulip. And I always try to put any materials that I use that aren't included in the kit in the description box. If I ever fail to mention something or you have any questions about anything in the video, please feel free to leave a comment. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. Now I'm going around with a stencil. This was in a previous My Creative Scrapbook kit. And this time I'm using some Vicki Boutin Iridescent Glaze. I usually use modeling paste, but I thought this would be a nice change. And I really like the way it's kind of translucent and it adds a really nice iridescent shimmer to the background. I'm putting some white splatters, which I love the way they look, but it also, in the end, it also does the same thing. It kind of tones down some of the color in the background. Next, I'm going to start working on my title. For the title, which is Go Where Your Dreams Take You, I am using a journaling card and I'm just cutting around the little words that are on the bottom and letting that kind of make the shape of the whole title. You'll see what I mean in a moment. So this is a travel themed collection, and you may have noticed that I am using a photo from my daughter's graduation day for this layout, and I thought it was great the way a lot of the sentiments that were included in the kit were not only perfect for travel, but they were perfect for graduation day as well. I cut off the black border because it's very thick, but then I go back in and add a black border with the Distress Oxide, and that way the border is even. I'll just ink the edges, and now I'm going to move on to my photo. So for the photo, I'm using the piece of pattern paper that I cut off, I cut the heart out of, and I'm using that to mount the photo. And I'm also using another journaling card. And I'm going to pop my photo up a little bit off the journaling card. This is just some old chipboard, you know, the packaging that's left after you use up all the chipboard. I'm just using that. That's from another kit. Using some ATG adhesive and attaching it down. And now I'm going to do the same thing to the heart. I'm going to also pop that up using some of this leftover chipboard. And I attach it down using ATG adhesive as well. It has adhesive on it, but you probably already know that that adhesive on chipboard is good, but not great. So just adding a little bit of extra adhesive, popping up the whole thing, and then attaching it onto the layout. So as soon as I attach it, I pick it back up again because I was thinking I wanted to add a couple more black splatters. So I went back in with that Liquitex ink again and added that to the background. And now I'm using the Black Soot Distress Oxide and I'm putting another layer on the heart. I had mentioned that that stamp pad, it's not as dark as it once was, so I'm having to put a couple of layers to get it as dark as I want it to be. So I decided to put a doily behind the photo, and I decided on this doily. Thought it was a good size. And now I'm going in with some flowers. Now this was the first layout that I created using this kit. So I have all 3 packages of Prima flowers, and they're so beautiful. So I had a lot of flowers to choose from. So this is a very flower intensive layout, and yeah, the flowers are really gorgeous. So I played around with them a little while trying to figure out which flowers would look best. I do like to have a variety of small, medium, and large flowers, and there were all different sizes in this kit. And I want to also make sure that in addition to having different sizes, I have different colors represented in all 3 clusters. I used some heavy duty gel medium to attach everything down. to me, there's really no other adhesive that will really hold these flowers down as well, although you could just use wet glue. But I really feel like this is a good medium to have on hand because you can attach pretty much anything to your layouts using this medium. I'm going in with some leaves that I have die cut, and I use these large leaves that are hollow, and then I'm using these little tiny buds, I guess they are. And my thought process was that the small buds would look delicate and the larger leaves would fill up some of the area. Now I'm going to go around the outside of the heart with some lace ribbon. I'm just tucking that in. This is just something that I had in my stash. And I'm using that little tool. I think that tool is for Fimo or clay, and I'm using that to help position the ribbon. And I really like having ribbon on my layouts. It's not something that I always remember to include, but this layout with the large heart just kind of seemed to call out for a little something around the edge. So I'm tucking that in, and I like the touch that that adds to the layout. It's a great collection because the collection is travel, and usually travel collections are very, I guess you could say, masculine looking. There's a lot of browns often, and there's a lot of earth tones in a lot of them. And this collection took a totally different take on the travel theme. There are some browns and blacks, but the main colors are very pastel-y, or maybe not pastel-y, maybe more like bright colors, blues and pinks and greens and yellows, and I just love that. I'm going back and I'm putting some green paint on the leaves. I didn't like the way they looked white, so I'm taking all the leaves and I'm putting some green kind of edging on them, not painting the whole thing, but just adding a touch of green, and that's a color bloom spray as well in golden oregano. And at first I wasn't sure if I wanted to put the green paint on the little buds, but in the end I decided that I would add the green paint to those as well. You can see that there's a chipboard arrow on top of the title. I don't end up using that on the layout. It just kind of snuck on there, and I didn't mention it when I put it on there, but as much as I like those chipboard pieces, I didn't end up putting that on this particular layout. Now I'm adding some pearls. These are no-hole pearls, and these are the full pearls. I often use the adhesive-backed half pearls, but for this layout, because there's so many flowers, there's a lot of dimension already, I thought that the complete round pearls would be a good addition. So I'm adding them in like blue color and in pink. And once again, I'm varying the size. And then I also put in some regular white pearls. And I'm also making sure that I put the pearls on the title. That way those flowers and that cluster will tie in with the other two clusters that are on the page. And so I'm just going around and trying to find places that I feel that I could tuck a pearl, trying to add different sizes and different colors and make everything balanced. And I really love the addition of pearls. In the end, I decided that that doily really wasn't adding anything to the layout, that the pattern paper underneath it looked better than the doily. It just didn't end up, I felt, adding anything to the layout. And I'm thinking that doily might have been a little bit too big for that spot. The larger leaves, they come on branches. There's 3 leaves on each branch, and I decided that I wanted to split that branch up into the 3 leaves and spread them around the title instead of having it in one large unit. And I also took those buds and I kind of rearranged them. But now, after all that, I decided I don't really like those buds. They're too fine and delicate for this layout, and they just don't have any impact. They kind of just fall away in the background. So instead, I went through my box of die cuts and I found these leaves and I ended up using these instead. And for these leaves, I end up coating them in some glitter paste. You saw that I painted the other leaves green, but for these I wanted to leave them white, but I wanted to add a little something to them. So at the end, long after I created this layout, I decided to go in with some Bo Bunny glitter paste in sugar, and I thought that gave a nice little touch to the leaves. And now I'm happy with that. Now I'm going in with some heavy duty gesso and a little sponge, and I'm adding some white gesso to all the flowers and all the embellishments. And now I'm using a small brush. I wasn't able to get the gesso into some areas using the sponge, so I'm adding a little bit more with my brush. And that is the final touch to the layout. Here are some close-ups of the layout. If you take a look in the description box, you will find the link to the My Creative Scrapbook website, and you can check out the limited edition kits and all the other beautiful kits that they have available. Thank you so much for watching my video, everybody. I hope if you liked it, you'll give me a thumbs up. I want to say thank you to everybody who has liked and subscribed and left me a comment. Take care, everybody. I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.